Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Yeah, we're back at it again. I'm John Norgrove. This is Julie Norgrove. This is our witchy podcast, once weekly witchy podcast. And today we will be talking about Mabon. But this is our Mabon 103.
That's right.
So, living in harmony with the seasons.
Yes.
I'm excited to learn along with y'all. If this is your first time here, thank you very much for listening. Julie does all the research, and I'm just here with color commentary. So,
and not only that, but we had previously talked about this episode being not what it ended up being. So you really
are in
the dark.
For what it's worth, I don't remember what we talked about. I mean, listen, I'm definitely there for the planning meetings, but like you've been at work where your boss is like, we have this meeting, and you're like, okay, this seems like it could have been an email, but I guess I'll attend this meeting. And then you sit in the meeting and it's like 9 old people confused about how your business works, right? Or like upset that an Excel spreadsheet says the truth. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. How could it be this way? And you're like, because that's how numbers work. I don't know what the fuck you want from me. It's sort of like that energy, where like as soon as the meeting's over and you walk out of that room, your mind just erases that shit.
Yeah, you've just been mind wiped.
So yeah, that's kind of the way. It's that MIB, that Men in Black like boof. Mind erasy thing. Every time we talk about like, this is what we're gonna do for the next couple of months worth of podcast episodes, I have like a bunch of bold opinions and like stratagem ideas, and we talk about it, and then as soon as we're like, all right, that sounds like a good idea, I turn around and I'm just like, where am I? Who am I? What's happening right now?
That's pretty
just
accurate.
Fucking immediately gone from my mind. So that's fun for me, I guess. So yeah, living in harmony with the seasons. Be nice to nature, don't be an ass. End of episode.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Shortest
no, what
episode
is this? What's
ever,
happening?
please.
Please, yeah, right? They'll go on forever, don't worry.
So first of all, yes, this is not out before the fall equinox if you're listening to this when this first comes out, but that's because we look at things being as part of a season. So we often talk about how if you don't feel like doing magical stuff on a day that's supposed to be particularly auspicious magically, or it's a sabbat or a blot or whatever, like then don't do it at a time that works better for you. So we look at these sabbats as being like a seasonal thing. So we're kind of like in that season of Mabon right now.
Yeah. Well, and we're not ones to like celebrate on the day, right? Okay, so the way that I look at it is this. Like if a blot or sabbat is on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. For me, I don't have to like go into an office, my dude. If that shit's on a Tuesday, I am not participating. On a Tuesday, I am too busy. I don't have time for that. That can be like a Saturday. We'll plan it on Tuesday. We'll have like a nice meal or whatever on Tuesday. But like the actual event, TM, if you will, is generally like postponed until a weekend or sometimes distributed across several days. One day we're going to do like whatever crafty thing we're going to do. And then like the next day we'll do like a fancy meal because the craft took too long and it's 10:30 at night and we're just not going to eat dinner, or we're just going to have like some snacks or some ice cream because it's too late to be cooking.
Or all we really have the energy to do is to clean our altars.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of a distributed load event is the way that we approach these things, because it's more about what you're doing and not about like random position of our planet during its orbit. So yeah.
So anyway, we'll talk first a little bit about Mabon. So all of these 103 episodes are sort of the idea of like, this is what you can do with the principles, with the ideas, with the like vibe behind
this is an exploration
sabbat.
Of like a greater depth as opposed to with specificity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the 101s are sort of like an overview to kind of get you in the mood, as it were. And the 102s are like specific to like piece of information about this sabbat, right? It's something very, very specific, like dialed in. And these 103s are more of an exploration of sort of like the source energy, the
Yeah.
like kind of greater plot of the story of that festival, blot, sabbat.
Or
so that way you
something
can
that's
kind of
related to
yeah,
it.
or like
Yeah.
relationally connected. So that way you can kind of have like a deeper understanding and start working on developing your own way of expressing this sabbat, even if it means you don't have the opportunity to do like a whole rigmarole.
Yeah.
You know, everybody loves a good bonfire, but sometimes your apartment would super prefer if you did not have a bonfire. So maybe you can explore other parts of the Sabbath with greater depth and leave the bonfires to not near your house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's sort of that kind of energy.
Yeah. So that said, let's talk about Mabon. Mabon takes place on the autumn equinox, which this year was, I think I wrote down the wrong date, was 9/23 or 9/24, whatever last Saturday was, in the northern hemisphere. And in the southern hemisphere, it is on the other equinox side, which is typically in March.
It was the 23rd last
Was it 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I don't know what numbers are. I'm not here
Time's
for math.
make believe, guys. Don't worry about it.
And Mabon is the second of 3 harvest festivals. The first being Lunasa, and the third actually being Samhain as a harvest festival. It's a relatively newer festival, although if you've listened to a lot of these episodes, most of these are all newer festivals created in the mid 20th century. And this one in particular is named after a Welsh mythological figure, Mabon ap Modron. And while this is a newer festival, cultures throughout the world have been celebrating the autumn equinox for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So, like, this is not a new time to celebrate. This is just a relatively new name for this particular holiday.
It's more like the name and structure were sort of ratified into consciousness during the, like, mid 20th century as a function of sort of trying to, like, put it all in one package, in one box, because there's like a bunch of places, like everybody who has the capacity of understanding an equinox would have celebrated an equinox,
yeah,
right? And so like obviously many ancient cultures celebrated the autumn equinox, but it wasn't necessarily like a specific thing. And when you're trying to build that calendar out, right, obviously one of the days is going to fall on the equinox, and you're like, okay, what is this? But there's not like a name. It's just like part of the harvest festivities that you do throughout the entire harvest season, as it were.
Exactly. And the sort of the main themes of this particular time, this season, is sharing and giving thanks. Some people actually call this the witches' Thanksgiving, which I have always thought is super duper weird, but that's just me.
Witches' Thanksgiving? I've never heard that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's often called the witches' Thanksgiving because this is a festival about gratitude. And after this, we have Samhain, and then after that, we have Yule. So, like, we don't have a Thanksgiving-y one.
Sure.
But, like, Thanksgiving takes place in different countries on different days, so it kind of doesn't matter anyway. It's also a time of transition to prepare for the winter, reflection for the seasons that have come before us, feasting, of course, and drinking, rituals, athletic contests, matchmaking, trading, visiting holy wells. But actually an interesting piece of this is bonfires were not particularly common to celebrate Mabon, so maybe skip those this time around. And if you're interested in more, we talk more in depth about Mabon in Mabon 101, that's episode 21, and Mabon 102, that's episode 44. And we can get deep into those over there. But for now, we're going to stick with the theme of balance, the themes of balance and gratitude, because that's really, when you boil down Mabon to a specific thing, it's really about that, the balance between light and dark, and being grateful for the seasons. I like to think of the modern witchcraft sabbats and the Norse blots as ways to honor, explore, experience, and add magic to the seasons as they pass by. And that's one of the things that's so great about following this particular path is you have the ability to sort of do that. A thing that like most, shall we say, non-secular capitalist Americans don't really do.
Sure, totally, yeah. Well, we're a little bit less connected to the process of our food. So, like, unless you have a garden and are a gardener, or are like working, like live in a particularly rural area, like it's just fall.
Yeah.
It's just like a vague
it's just
in between
pumpkin spice
time.
Season.
Yeah, it's just pumpkin spice season, right? Halloween decorations are basically out, but like, it's hit or miss. Christmas is starting to like some sort of bloody invasive species invade southward in time towards now. I mean, we're already seeing Christmas decorations out at places, which is ridiculous. So for a lot of people, this is sort of like school's already started, so you can't say it's like begin school.
Yeah.
Right? Like Halloween's not here, but basically plans are already set for Halloween. Yeah. Right? And it's time to start preparing the panic attacks for Christmas.
Yeah. And it's still kind of trying to have warm days, at least for us where we live this time of year.
Once in a blue moon.
It's not entirely fall. It's not, it's kind of like an interesting time of the year. And it's kind of like one of my favorite times of year, but it's one of those things where like, as I like sort of forge my own magical path, I have started to find that I don't particularly have a favorite season per se. I sort of have started to honor all of the seasons, and really there's nothing wrong with having a favorite season, right? We're not saying that at all. Have a favorite season.
Team winter.
If you have a favorite season.
Boom. Let's go.
But like, have you considered finding joy in each season as you experience it?
I mean, every season has dope stuff, right? Fall obviously has colored leaves. Everybody loves leafers.
Colored leaves, yeah.
And Halloween, which is the best holiday.
The best of the holidays, yes.
And like spring is nice because you get to stress out about gardening and there's flowers everywhere. And summer's nice because I can actually do work outside unless it's blisteringly hot, at which point, no, thank you. But yeah, no, I'm definitely a team winter person.
Yeah.
I like the cold and the dark and the rain.
I know you are. Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. I can't do like outside work. Well,
you still do.
Conceptually, I can't do outside work, but I do yard work in the rain, right? I mean, you could still chainsaw in the rain.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can.
If I got trees to tree, then rain time is perfectly fine. Right? It's active cooling. This is the way that I think about it, right? When you want to get like an even nicer gaming PC, you don't go with a standard radiator for cooling your CPU. You go with water cooling, right? So like a superior gaming PC, I need water cooling to lift incredibly heavy redwood logs that are in my yard that need to be taken care of. So I just wait until it's wet and raining outside, and then I can just be actively cooled so I don't die from the exertion of having to move wood that is way too fucking heavy for me. So, there you go. You're welcome for that tip. Life tips with John.
All right. Going back to this idea of the seasons and stuff like that. So, when I was writing this episode, I was starting to think about how, like, it's like favorite seasons and how do you prepare for the winter? But then I was just like, well, like, why not just prepare for winter? Why not prepare for other things? And then I was thinking about how time goes by faster and faster every year. And a couple of years ago, I remember feeling a bit shook when we heard Dion Cole. He's a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. He has this bit about having 30 summers left. Mm-hmm. And it's a very silly bit, but it has stuck with me. There's actually a link to a YouTube video that has this bit in the source below, and you can, I'm not sure if it's on Netflix now, but it was on Netflix, so I linked a trailer to that too in the sources. And I think about this often, but not just like how many summers I have left, but like how each summer is special, how each fall is special, and how each winter is special. You know, if you only have 30 summers left, that means that you also only have 30 Thanksgivings left.
Yeah.
And you only have 30 Halloweens and 30 Christmases. And then I have, you know, this sort of thing. And I'm just picking 30 because that's like the number that he had.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably going to have more than 30 summers left because I'm going to live forever.
That's true.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that. And a lot of times in our podcast, we talk about how moving to a small cabin in the woods at the edge of civilization has taught us to understand and live with the change in the seasons better.
To connect with nature more, to pay more attention to like the trees and the birds and like the bugs. You know, we quantify seasonality
the bugs of
around
each
our
season,
house with bugs, and you know,
right now we're in random bug season, and next we're going to be in big spider season.
Yeah.
And then we also have learned how the animals of the forest act with the changing of the seasons also. Like right now, the squirrels are starting to collect bay nuts, and soon they're going to be dropping them on our roof to try and break them open. And also sometimes on our heads.
It's also deer are getting more squirrely, Dan, because they're trying to pack on as much as they can. So they love trying to get all up into your yard and eat your garden. So every once in a while, you got to just like go outside and yell at a deer, like, get off my lawn.
Like literally happened the other night.
Yeah.
And not only did these deer not want to leave, but like as we stood there and we're like, you guys, you can't stay here. You gotta go.
Don't eat my fucking
garden. You
gotta
go
bro.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And like somewhere from out of the houses, like downhill and towards town from us, somebody started playing like a lone French horn.
Yeah, it was
as the deer started to walk away. It was one of the most comical and absurd moments we have ever had living here. It was insane.
Yeah.
Both of our phones were inside, so you just get to imagine that. But we also get to like observe the change of the seasons, like with our tortoise Bortus, and how the leaves of the trees change, and also how the forest smells.
Yeah, because like redwood, obviously, like they don't change between summer and winter
except that they do.
But it's all stuff around them and sort of like what's growing and like what's like kind of dying back and such like that. As well as we've got like the fish, they act differently before winter comes. The koi ponds and the chickens act differently. So like we really get to sort of interact more with nature as a function of just living out here and like the life choices we've made. But it makes you much more aware of not just seasonality, the like longer look at time, but like also smaller patches of time. You become more aware of like, oh, it's gonna rain soon, or or like the weather's gonna change, or like, you know, whatever, because of the way that like flora and fauna react to the like small changes that are sort of beyond normal human perception that foretell, in quotes, what's going to be happening next. So we get the super fun time of being like, oh, the weather's gonna like, I'll just like come inside and be like, the weather's gonna change. The fish told me, because the fish are acting a specific way in the pond, and like one of the ponds gets like a little cloudy before weather change during because of barometric pressure changes. So I just get to like the fish when I watch the fish, they tell me when the weather's gonna change.
Yeah.
Welcome to living.
Or I'll
in the
be
woods
like, there's a
person.
storm blowing in because I can hear the wind in the upper story of the redwoods, and it sounds a very specific way.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that means you need to see if there's any tools you have to put away so they'll get rained on.
Everything's got to be brought back underneath for cover.
Yeah. Now, so doing these things is not only interesting to us, but also has created a lot of love and respect for the forest that we live in. And it's also really helped us to get in touch with and grow our own magical practices. Even though a lot of the things we talk about are mundane, there's a sort of synergy to it. At least for me, there's sort of times where it's easier to do things or less easy to do things. And you can just kind of like tap into the magic, the inherent magic of the earth easier. And I know like not everybody has the ability to, or the desire to live in a cabin at the edge of the woods, dispensing wisdom and the occasional potion to visitors and passerby.
That's true.
But you can find your own way to live with the seasons, even if you generally hate the cold of winter or the heat of summer.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure, right? I mean, no matter what big city you live in, you have access to, there are plants near you,
Yeah.
right? And you can always get like a potted plant in the window, right? And notice little changes in the plant. You know,
Yeah.
get yourself like an English ivy or sansevieria, snake plant, or what's the other one? Like a fern of some sort.
Something
Uh,
easy to grow.
they're easy to
Yeah.
grow. They're not particularly sassy about you being able to pay attention to taking care of them. And also, they have the added benefit of being scientifically known to clean the air for
Yeah.
you incredibly well. All three of the plants that I just spoke of are NASA tested and are like some of the top 5 plants that clean the air. For NASA did a bunch of tests in the early 2000s about trying to see like what plants would benefit putting on a space station the most with regard to like taking particulate that's bad out of the air and whatnot, as well as these are plants that are like highly sensitive to seasonal changes as well.
Yeah.
Right, you can very much tell
A
seasonality.
peace lily too,
Peace
because they also
lilies,
have a flowering
very
season.
sassy.
Yeah.
Very sassy plants. They'll tell you what's going on with them.
Well, they're not sassy in the care, but they have.
Oh, they're sassy in the seasonality.
Yeah.
They'll know. They'll know this. They'll notice the like solar shift, as the light trickles through the window. And you can also get like low light plants if like you don't get great sunlight. I mean, we live out in the woods and we don't get great sunlight because we're surrounded by fucking monstrous redwood trees. So gardening is an absolute nightmare out here. It's a constant battle with the sun.
Yeah. And you don't even necessarily have to have a plant to do it. You can
Of
just
course not.
have a place. Most
Look
people
out the window.
Most people are outside at some point in time.
Look out a
during
window.
the day.
Touch some grass. When you touch the grass, look at the grass. Don't just touch it with your eyes closed. Look at it. Observe it. It's all about patient observation. And like the more you do that and the more you record that in your head, in quotes, right? The more you're going to be able to notice subtle changes. And from those subtle changes and correlative reactions to those changes, you'll be able to determine like predictable and accurate changes in weather or seasonality or anything to that nature.
Yeah,
Right?
we're actually.
I mean, hell, you
talk
can do the
about
same
that.
thing with the fucking Starbucks menu. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're actually gonna dive into that a little bit. So let's start with some general things that you can incorporate into your routine to help you tune into the rhythm of the seasons. So, like John was just saying,
rhythm of the seasons.
First and foremost, spend time in nature regularly. You don't have to make a big deal of it. Just start by finding some time each day to be outside. Yeah. That can be in your backyard or on a balcony. That can be if you're, going to the car, walking your dog. It's as simple as taking a few extra seconds outside. That's it. And when you're outside, allow yourself to engage your senses of touch, sight, and smell. You'll find that you start noticing little things like seeing spider webs high up in the trees in the afternoon light, the house that always seems to smell like delicious pasta, and the feel of a cool breeze. And after a while, you'll start to notice patterns. Then you start to notice shifts in the patterns, like the always inevitable day in summer where you go outside and go, oh yes, fall is coming, because I have that day every single year, and this year it was like in May.
You're like, fall will soon be here, and then we didn't have
we basically didn't have a summer this year. And as you do this more often, you'll start to find yourself looking forward to finding these small changes, basically making excuses to be outside to observe things. And then you'll start to find the favorite things, like starting to notice when the birds have little babies chirping, or, the leaves are turning colors, whatever your favorite thing is. You'll start to look forward to those. And this in and of itself is a small form of meditation and is the first step on this magical journey. It's when you start to feel appreciation for the things around you, you give them space in your mind, and then you can much more easily tap into that meditative zone and feeling.
Yeah. Well, if you've listened to me before, if you listen to us before, you've heard me talk about micro meditations. My favorite thing to expound upon, as it were, is the idea of like you can do the big to do, right? And I do sit in like with your legs crossed, and you've got like a nice sounds happening, and you're in like a nice meditative zony state and place and comfortability, and like that's gangster. But also sometimes it's nice to just like go outside. I regularly, like especially in the morning when I'm drinking coffee, I'll have my coffee in the morning and I'll just like have a cup outside. I'll just like pour myself a cup and then just go outside and like just whatever. Sometimes it's watering the garden, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like wanding the cobwebs down because the spiders are if you live out in the redwoods, you have to wage a constant and ever-present war with the arachnid army trying to take over the planet. So that's fun, but whatever. You got to fight back the arachnids and ruin their houses. Unless they don't break the cardinal rule, at which point they get to keep their houses.
Yeah.
So don't be all up in my stuff, bro.
Yeah, don't be all up in our stuff.
Don't grow on my chop saw, my guy. I used that less than 8 hours ago. What are you doing? I was cutting wood at like 10:30 at night last night. Get fucked.
Yeah.
But these spiders
sometimes
out
a
here,
spider web
aggressive.
just goes up like overnight, and I'm like,
aggressive.
why did you do this?
And like crazy. Sometimes like
across
across the path. Right? That you walk through and you're just like, this is dumb, dog. What are you doing here?
Yeah, why did you think this was
magic wanded away? I have like stick in the front yard, stick in the backyard that I just like wand, just bloody Vada Gadava that shit away or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Leviosa it, however that works.
Inagata Devita.
Inagata Devita, yeah. Whatever that magic stuff is. But yeah, so just like do like little micro meditations. You don't need to do all that pomp and circumstance. You just need to like it's hard to explain it having done it so much now, but it's just being able to sort of like drop into pure observation and not be like in your own thinking space. If a thought occurs while you're meditating, like think it. That's fine, dog. We have a whole podcast about meditation. We talk about this a lot there.
Yeah, we got a whole episode about that.
But like the idea that when you're in nature, just like observe it, pay attention. Frequently I hear like hummingbirds, we've got squirrels, we've got deer out here, like everything under the sun that you can think of. So
not everything under the sun.
Everything under the sun that you can think of.
No.
Attack giraffes.
Everything that would make sense for being in this climate is here.
Yeah. And some things that don't make sense because people keep planting stuff that shouldn't be planted here.
Yeah, but definitely not everything under the sun.
No. Kind of. We'll see.
Okay, so you may be thinking to yourself, it's all fine and good to like want to be outside, but what if I hate a particular season and do not want to be outside during it? Well,
hunch your shoulders.
I have some tips. So
those are probably better tips than hunch your shoulders.
Yeah, I tried. So we'll start with fall because it's the season that we're in. Now, fall is fire season and hurricane season for some. So it can be a particularly stressful season when it comes to that stuff. But some things that you can love about fall is the smell of petrichor in the air. That's the smell of the first rain and like what sidewalk smells like. Also the smell of decaying leaves. That's petrichor. Also the smell of beets, so have fun with that. The leaves changing colors, and harvest season food, drinks, and festivities. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of that during fall.
Go to a pumpkin patch. This is pumpkin patch season. This is every grocery store's got pumpkins. Get one and carve one. What are you, an adult and you don't have anything to do on a Tuesday? Get a pumpkin and carve it. Carving pumpkins is dope.
Yeah.
It's pumpkin spice season, so everybody's Ugg booting up for pumpkin spice everything.
That's right.
Those are everywhere. Give them a try. 75% of pumpkin spice flavored things are an abomination.
But you'll find some gems.
But 25% are fire, dog. Let me tell you. Some of that stuff is like, why? Why would you do this?
Why is this so good?
Why is this a thing? But some of it's delicious. You know what? Just go look at Halloween decorations.
Yeah.
Right? Go look at fall decorations.
That was actually our Mabon festivity.
Yeah,
we just did a short video about that. You can find that on my YouTube, TikTok and Instagram, and on our YouTube channel. Yep. Some links you can find in the description below. Or you can just go to nerdjive.com and it'll take you anywhere you need to go. But yeah, like that was super fun. So moving on to winter. Winter is cold, dreary, and often wet. So
frozen.
Where my seasonal affective depression people at? Where my sads people at? But winter has cozy, warm clothes. It has comfort foods. Yep. If you're in a place,
soup heavy season.
It is, yeah.
Heavy with soups.
If you're in a place where there's snow, try to remember the childhood magic of it. Yeah. Yes, I know that may go away quickly if you're trying to shovel a driveway, but do your best.
But while you're shoveling that driveway, you can always make a snowball and throw it at something. Yeah. Not someone. Throw it at something.
A thing. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And of course, it is a great season to use extra candles or fairy lights for ambiance and extra light in dark times.
Yep. It's fire season for like fireplaces and stuff. So if you have access to a fireplace or a wood burning stove, like we have a wood burning stove, you get to do that. It's like wood chopping season. You get like hot apple cider, and you get to go tree shopping.
Cocoa.
Like you want an absolutely fantastic winter fun time thing is when it's Christmas tree time and you can go to like a Christmas tree lot or whatever that's called. Just go to Starbucks, get a bev, go to a Christmas tree lot in your mittens and your jacket and whatnot, and wander around and look at trees and touch trees.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love Christmas tree shopping ferociously.
You are so particular about Christmas trees.
I'm so crazy. I am.
And we live in a house that is too small to have a Christmas tree.
I have bold opinions about Christmas trees.
Unless we hang it upside down from the ceiling.
Well, it's because my family we love Christmas, and also we have like NATO level negotiations about what we're going to do for Christmas. We got to a place where we were having rotational Christmas decision making, right? So we had a rotating king for Christmas, whether it was my decision on what we're going to do, or Dad's, or Rachel's, or Justin's, or whatever. So it's that thing where you're having to like constantly like figure out, what are we going to do? How are the decorations going to be? I love any decorative holidays like that. That's the same reason why I love Halloween so much. So you get to decorate, you get to put up stuff. Who doesn't love decorating and living in like a magical ass place, my guy?
Yeah.
Like, who wants to live in an all-white house? My gods.
Not us.
No.
But that's fine if you do. So, moving along to spring.
Springtime.
Spring is tornado, flood, and allergy season for some people. So that can be particularly rough. But the first spring blooms are pretty, even if they send you into an Ambien? No. A Claritin coma. Ambien, something else entirely.
I don't know nothing about bloody allergies, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
It's also a time to make summer plans. Spring is like a really popular time of year for that.
Time to start your garden.
Yeah, seasonal vegetables are starting to come out.
Yeah, so like you get to like start planning what you want to plant. Same thing. Let me tell you, every one of these seasons is a time to go do some plant stuff. You want fall stuff? Go look at leaves. Go to a park. Look at trees that aren't evergreens, deciduous trees.
Yeah.
Look at leaves changing and falling as such. In the winter time, go Christmas treeing. Right? You don't have to buy a tree, dog. You can just like go there with a bev and like look at trees. That's totally gangster, right? For springtime, I'm dead serious. The best place to go in springtime is some sort of a plant farm or big box store that sells tools and plants. Whichever one is the one that's near you, right? There are a bajillion of them. I mean, like even grocery stores got plants. during springtime, go look at plants. If you would like, go get some plants. I have a plant problem, whereas I can't go anywhere without wanting to buy a plant, regardless of what time of year it is, or whether or not I have space for it.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Everything's about plants for me.
That's true. That's true. And then rounding out the seasons, we've got summer. And yes, I know it's hot. And I know this year has been particularly rough for basically everyone but us. And that's weird, but whatever.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't really get like a lot of heat here, but like even just in town, it was like hot.
Yeah.
We never really got hot.
At
but
our house,
it was like muggy.
Yeah. And smoky.
Yeah.
And that can be really tough. So ways to celebrate the summer for those of you that are not summer people. Summer sunrises when the world is cool and quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Summer sunrises are particularly nice. And sunsets, of course, fantastic, right? But it's still pretty warm out during sunset, but sunrise, that's your time.
That's when it's cool, yeah.
You can also enjoy the way that plants perk back up after a watering during the heat of summer.
Yep.
That's always a particularly magical thing to look at. Or the way that fresh, cold summer fruit or popsicles make you feel when it's hot outside. Tiny moments of respite.
Yeah, totally. It's park season. It's outdoor event season. So you can go do an outdoor event, whatever that is. Summer is generally fair season. So you get to go to your local fairs. If you're a fair goer, which I love fairs for the plants and the animals. I don't care about rides, but I love fairs for the plants and the animals. As well as summertime is one of those fantastical times where like kind of like it's all vacation energy. It's all travel energy. It's all like freedom to do stuff energy because the days are longer. So like for all the good of all the other seasons, summertime is generally the time of year where you get to both leave for work when the sun is out and come home from work when the sun is out. And it's nice not being just a shadow person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like when I used to drive 45 minutes to work every day, during the pretty much fall, winter, and most of spring, it was like leave the house when it's dark, return to the house when it's dark. I'm just always driving in the dark. I'm home in the dark. There's no light. I can't do shit.
Yeah.
It's also summertime is yard time. If you have a lawn, we do not do lawns here, but like if you have a lawn, you get to do lawn stuff.
That's right.
Which everybody seems quite hype about. You get to do all of your garden stuff. Summertime is when you get to harvest your tomatoes and your bell peppers and your, whatever else vegetables you're working on, your corn and such like that. So summertime is a time of great activity.
Yeah. 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 So next up on the list of ways to add the appreciation for the seasons is finding some seasonal fun, which we've already been kind of talking about. But really what you want to do is try to find something that you enjoy that highlights the characteristics of the season. So for fall, that's harvest fairs, looking around, leaf watching, seasonal decorations, looking at them, buying them, making them, putting them up, observing them up. Yeah. And it's also finally cool enough to bake again. So have fun with that. And of course, fall holidays, and that goes all the way through Thanksgiving. Yeah. Because Thanksgiving is sort of the end of that. Yep. So there's a ton of stuff to do during fall. Yeah,
fall food. Right? I mean, like obviously we
football,
talked about...
if you're a sports ball person.
It's football season. Go football. Makes it sound like I don't watch football. I do watch football.
Yeah, you're like, go sports!
Go sports!
I hope that team hits a home run.
Yeah. So go football. It's football season, so you get to watch that. It's also for seasonal food time. Not only do you get like your pumpkin spice and all of that sort of festivities, but you also get like with regard to Thanksgiving, all of your turkey and sides and stuff. Yep. And let me tell you, Thanksgiving is so great. Oh yeah, apple stuff. right? Like harvest festivals in the fall. Harvest festivals are super dope for that kind of thing. So like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For winter, we've got more holiday decorations and treats, right? Yep. They're just a different flavor. You got all kinds of seasonal get-togethers. Some of them may not be your most fun thing, but also if you
get the dreaded
if you can, right? If you
or
can,
the great one, depends on where you work.
Have good seasonal get-togethers with people you love.
Yep.
And love to be around. You also have the magic of Christmas movies, which are a very specific thing.
Yeah. Oh
you have ice skating or like faux ice skating, depending on where you are.
Oh, I've never done one of those faux ice skate things.
On like plastic.
We have an ice skating rink like in the city
near
us.
Yeah, there's also a faux one that pops up during Christmas time. And then there's also visiting your local holiday lights festival or like whatever neighborhood puts on like banging displays.
We have like 4 or 5 neighborhoods here in Sonoma County that are like taking it to the limit.
Yeah.
Right. And not just like there's like the 4 or 5 neighborhoods, and then there's probably like 10 specific houses where the neighborhood is like, well, I'll put some lights up on the garage for the family, for the season. And then one house is just the like
we got one house,
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, just like beam of light visible from space.
We got one house that is on our way home from town, and it's not in our town, it's in the town next to us. And every single season they are taking it to the limit with decorations, and I love it so much.
It's great, dude.
Like they even have like decorations for like less intense holidays, like holidays that you don't normally think about decorating for. Like, would you think about decorating for Memorial Day?
But they had them.
Yeah.
No, they're always taking it to the limit.
It's the best. They're always taking it to the limit. I'm interested to see what they do for President's Day.
Yeah.
So spring, find a place to find wildflower blooms, whether that's taking a day trip or hitting up a local park.
Yep.
There's definitely gonna be a place for wildflower blooms. That's when farmers markets typically start up. And that's also when the first fairs of the season start up too.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, fruit stands on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's when those start springing up.
Yep.
No. Didn't do that on purpose.
Never mind then. And then lastly is summer. So visiting the water, whether that's the ocean, the beach, the river, the lake, whatever, the pool, whatever
your local
water you got,
is.
go visit it. Being outside on warm evenings, like camping or movies in the park or having like a little fire in your fire pit or whatever.
Yeah.
And also more farmers markets and more fairs.
Grilling. Although I grill all year round because the rain is not going to stop me from having grilled steak. But grilling, it's grill season. That's when you can stock up on all your grill accoutrement. And also not just like camping and hiking and stuff like that, but the fact that every park has something going on.
Yeah.
You have beer fests are during the summertime. You have music fests are generally during the summertime. So you have a lot more outdoor activity time, which is great. That's like the best part of summer. Regardless of the fact that summer's hot and the sun is all out there and stuff. Which I'm not a fan of.
And two that are not necessarily tied to a season, but are a great way to see the changing of the seasons is if you have any botanical gardens near you or like Japanese tea gardens or Japanese type gardens near you that you can visit, go and make it a habit to visit those during each season.
Yeah, totally.
We're right near some really beautiful botanical gardens, and like we're like a couple hours drive from like the world renowned San Francisco tea garden, and it's beautiful. And if going each season, you kind of get to see like, oh, there's flowers on this plant where there weren't flowers there before, or this one has leaves that are changing color in the fall, or like, wow, this one still has leaves and it's the dead of winter. So you kind of get to you can do things in that way there too. Totally. So since we've talked about relatively mundane ways, let's talk about some magical ways to connect with the seasons. Because we got a foundation going now. We're building on top of that foundation. We can start incorporating magic into our seasonal rituals. So here are a few ways that you can do that. You can consider working with local elemental, animal, or fae spirits. They are usually tied to a local landmark, a specific place, or landscape, or phenomena. You can leave them offerings or tidy up their area. That's a great way to sort of get to know the energy of an area. And if you want to learn more about working with the Fae, which is also a pretty good way to build relationship with nature spirits, check out our Fae episodes, episode 9, Working with the Fae, and episode 39, Types of Fae. So that's a great way to do that. And you can be, you can go as like small as the spirits that are in the area that you like live in your backyard or in the courtyard or at the park that you walk by on your way to walk the dog or, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a capital B big deal.
Yeah.
But you could make it a big deal if you have a particular park that you absolutely love going to. Find a place in that park, and now that can be your little space. Of course, if you are going to a park, please be careful about any offerings you leave. Don't leave
stuff out.
Don't leave stuff out, especially if it's in an
you're
area
hiking
where an
or in
animal
nature,
or a
pack out your
small
trash.
child can get it. Don't just leave stuff.
Yeah.
You can also research and get in touch with any groups of indigenous people from your area.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding traditional customs, beliefs, and rituals of people that are indigenous to the land that you're living on may also give you more understanding of the spiritual landscape of your particular area.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, they may not be interested in or willing to share this information with you. Not because there's something wrong with specifically you, but because of, the way the world has worked.
Yeah.
And also, remember, we don't gatekeep here. But we do ask that you do your own research to ensure that any foray into indigenous practices is following the idea of appreciation, not appropriation.
Yeah.
We talk about this at length in episode 22, Toxic Internet Witchcraft. So if you're curious what really kind of the difference there with appreciation and appropriation is, check that out. Mm-hmm. It's a good one. Heavy, but good. You can also update your altar seasonally. With the change of the seasons, it's a good time to clean, like dust, clean things off, throw things away, and also to cleanse spiritually your altar. Helps you get into the spirit of the season, and also simple devotional acts like this are not only micro meditations, like John talks about, but they also help to keep you centered and engaged in your practice.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you the opportunity to have a space that's sort of like temporally reflective of what's going on outside, right? So like we update our altar.
We do it seasonally.
We do it probably a little bit more frequently than seasonally.
We tried to do it with each Sabbat, and that was just too much work.
Yeah, there was a little too much. But it lets you change things around, right? And like we've altered our altar many times, not just in like with decorations and stuff, but in like form, function, and layout.
Yeah.
It also lets you sort of recycle or upcycle things.
Or take stuff out and be like, oh, I haven't used this crystal out here for a while.
Yeah. And of course, like dusting and cleaning, which is nice. And it gives you like a nice little permanently decorated space. Right? Ours is just like right there in the living room. So it's nice decoration in this already maximalized
And if
house.
you watch some of our older episodes, we actually, in our older episodes, sit in front of the altar. It's something that we're kind of not really able to do anymore because we have like a table in the way.
Yeah.
So it just kind of like doesn't really work out. So here, enjoy this curtain.
Yeah.
Behind us.
Yeah.
Enjoy our beautiful faces.
Yeah.
My fantastic flower crowns.
Well, you see if you follow us on social media, you can see we always like post photos of our like altar updates throughout the year there. So you can see what we're doing with that.
Yeah.
So for sure.
You can also do spells and rituals that incorporate the themes of the season, like sowing, growing, harvesting, and resting. So that's spring, summer, fall, and winter. Mother, maiden, mother, crone.
Kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Introspective and extrospective. Dark and light. Release or invite. A lot of the sabbats have a theme of releasing things that no longer serve you, or inviting or invoking things that you want to bring into your life.
Yeah.
And if you are not someone that identifies with the idea of maiden, mother, crone, we've actually been we're probably going to do a whole pub chat talk about this, but we've actually been thinking about a way to talk about this in a much more gender neutral way, not just for people that are not identifying as women, but for people who do identify as women, but don't really feel that maiden, mother, crone side of things. So if you're maiden and you don't become mother, do you skip straight to crone? So we've been talking about a whole pub chat that we're going to do talking about that. And maybe that's next. Who knows?
Who
we
knows?
Don't know yet, but you'll find out.
Those get decided at the last possible minute. Let's not pretend that the pub chats are planned. They aren't. They're my responsibility, and I wing everything.
Yeah.
It's way easier to just live life that way.
Yeah.
Man.
So that's a good reason to subscribe. And of course, you can do spells and rituals that align with the themes of the season, spring and summer and fall and winter. So those are just some ideas for you. And then also try using seasonal items in your spells, like spring blooms or seeds or fall leaves. Use snow and rain, or perhaps our favorite, seasonal egregores.
Hell yeah, man!
Like Santa.
Yeah, or the Easter
Bunny.
the
Easter Bunny. And we actually talk about Santa being an egregore.
Or the Great Pumpkin, also egregore.
That too, yeah. So
or Uncle Sam, also egregore. I mean, 4th of July isn't really a Sabbath, but
Uncle Sam
is a fucking American egregore, my dude, 100%. So yeah, you can definitely do that. And not only can you use seasonal items in your spells, but you can also use them in your cooking and make your cooking into magical cooking. Kitchen witchery is a thing that we have a podcast on, and we talk about very often because it's a thing that Julie does all the time. And
I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more TikToks and Instagram reels about that.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
So stay tuned. I'm very excited about that.
But also, like, I think that one of the best ways to get sort of more in touch with nature, if you're like, and if you already do this is not for you. You can wait with a smile on your face because you know that you're doing something gangster. But like, eat seasonal food, right? I understand that in modern America today, you can go to a grocery store any time of year and get strawberries or whatever. Right, because of like hot houses and shit like that.
Full disclosure, we are not eating seasonal food 100%
of
the
time. No.
Right?
I am talking about like,
we eat seasonal
food
probably 75% of the time.
Well, that's because we get we
have a CSA box.
We have a CSA box, so that helps. But like go to a farmer's market and see what is locally available and like cook with that. One of my favorite things to do is to get some produce that I have no practical understanding of how to cook with it and just figure it out on the fly. I am not a baker. I don't do like recipes and organized cooking like an adult.
Yeah, this year we've been learning
I wing it.
Eggplant.
Yeah, which I am not a fan of, but there are ways to prepare eggplant where it is not bad.
Yeah, we've had a few eggplant successes.
Aubergines. I think that we as Americans should switch over to aubergine. It's a way cooler sounding word.
It is.
And also, most of the eggplants that you eat are aubergines, not eggplants, which are the ones that are actually shaped like eggs, which is why it's called eggplant. So, but it's neither here nor there. I have a lot of weird word opinions.
You signed up for the magic and you ended up getting the plants.
Yeah, the plants and the words. But no, I really love doing that sort of like seasonal cooking thing. It kind of lets you experiment with flavor profiles and ways of cooking and using ingredients that you wouldn't traditionally think of, which makes you a little bit more in tune with the season, a little bit more in tune with the food that you're cooking, which connecting with the food that we eat is very good. and has a lot of historical mystical practices in it in and of itself. It will also force you to get more spices in your cupboard, which is good because you should want to do weird things with spices.
Ooh, we have so many spices.
Yeah. Make tacos, but use Indian spices and not Mexican spices. That kind of stuff. I love doing like weird shit with food. But also if you make seasonal food and it doesn't turn out good, and I cannot stress this enough, even if you are an experienced cook, you are occasionally going to cook something and it is going to be awful. Like unapproachably bad food, right? And that's totally okay. I regularly prepare something and I'm like, this is not at all what I thought this was going to taste like. Is it good? The jury's still out. Am I going to eat it? Yes. Because I already wasted the time.
Will it get fed at least in part to the chickens?
Maybe.
You know it.
But like, especially if you're like, you know, if you're not living in a rural situation and you're living in town, in a city, something like that, right? Go to your local farmer's market, go to your whatever your like local hippie store is that's got, you know, stuff from the farmers or what have you. Buy something seasonal, try and cook it. And if it turns out bad, then just go get fast food that night and it's okay. You tried, you gave it the college try of a bite, and come to find out you do not like eggplant, you do not know how to cook it, and whatever you just did shouldn't be thought about in the future. That's okay.
Yeah.
So like play with that stuff. Have fun in that space. And it's a great way to experience the seasons because you're going to be able to sort of like, it's involving more senses, right? You look outside and see that the leaves are changing color during the fall time. But until you like get a gourd or a squash or some shit and like try and process that into food, you carve in a pumpkin, roast the seeds, and do whatever roasted pumpkin seeds are about.
Yeah, do the whole shebang. Yeah.
You know, buy like a pie pumpkin, which is a different kind of pumpkin than a carving pumpkin. It's a bunch of different pumpkins. Ask the person in the deli or in the produce area at your grocery store.
Don't ask the deli.
Don't ask the deli. Ask the person in the produce section at your grocery store. They will be like, that one. That's the kind you want to use. But like, try and make your own pumpkin pie. I gotta tell you, man, that's baking and I can't do that. So every pumpkin pie I've ever made has been like loose.
That's okay.
Which is not great pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I do that.
But
that's
guess what?
Me.
I buy a pumpkin pie and then I make a pumpkin pie, and when the one that I made turned out not great, then I just use it as topping for ice cream and I eat that regular pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
So there's always a solution. But no, I think that involving seasonality, not just magically, but like in your food, like you involve it magically. Did you see a pretty leaf? Pick that shit up, dog. Like, make sure it's not gross. And like wash your hands afterwards. But like, pick that shit up, blot it dry on a paper towel, put it in your altar space. My altar is like covered in feathers of various birds, because sometimes I'll be like, I found an outside bird feather, and then just like clean that feather and then put it in my altar space.
Yeah.
Or what have you. I mean, we also have a lot of birds, so that helps.
That too.
But yeah, so like definitely try and involve seasonality in your day-to-day, and if you're gonna do that, why not make it magical? I mean, we talk about like turning the mundane into magical and mystical on a regular basis, and I think that this is all part of that sort of greater exploration of consciousness, where we want to like improve ourselves and connect more with like nature and with like the fabric of reality, and in so doing, like, we grow and we improve, and we also approach like nature and life and other people with more poignant amount of knowledge and more understanding, and with the desire to learn and to understand, which I like is kind of low-key the point of all of this.
Yeah.
Is to be like understanding and like interacting more with nature and understanding more how we affect these things, so that way we can be informed. Like, it seems obvious to say we should strive to be informed people, but it apparently is not, based on what the news is saying these days. So who knows? But soapbox set aside, seasonal stuff is like seasonality in general is one of my favorite expressions of nature, and one of the funnest things to do from a witchy standpoint, like in our altar space, is to update those things and like put Halloween decorations out, or put Christmas decorations out, or put out, I guess, Valentine's Day decorations. I don't know what's over around there.
Like hearts, I guess.
Hearts and stuff. I don't know.
Hearts and doilies. Doilies.
Whole hearts.
No.
Put out put out the red. Put out like flowers, or plant crops, and make offerings with like locally sourced seasonal food and things like that. That's all fun. Who doesn't love that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it always feels a little like extra witchy for me, doing stuff that like aligns with the season too.
Totally.
I feel like a little more magical when I'm doing
arts and crafts. Guys, do a seasonal arts and crafts, right? When's the last time you put your hand on a piece of paper and you traced it and you turn it into a turkey? Everybody loves that shit. It's gangster. You know turkey hand?
Yeah, I do. I have not thought about that in a long time.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Do a macaroni art, whatever. Let me tell you, if you want to truly find peace within yourself, do the crafts that you learned when you were in elementary school. That is, I spent 7 hours today painting a tiny building. Check that shit out on my Instagram. I am very proud of myself.
Yeah, we got our...
I went into that...
Our Inktober
not
stuff.
Sure.
I spent all day painting 5 strawberries.
They're good looking strawberries, though. Quite juicy.
They looked very juicy.
Yeah. They look real good. They look real good.
Very excited. Also, did you guys realize that the seeds on a strawberry are not black? They're generally like a yellowy green. A thing that I did not think about until John was like, hey, what color are you going to paint those seeds on the strawberry? And I was like, I don't know, black? And he's like, I don't think those seeds are black.
Yeah, they're like off-white, bro.
Yeah, they're like yellowy white.
Yeah, they're like really, really pale seed color.
Yeah. So that's fun. Not like I didn't know what color they were, but just like in my mind they were
you just
black.
Didn't really think about it.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it. So seasonality is fun. It's funny because it is fall and Halloween season. We just recently did that Halloween shopping thing, and we actually have a sort of a part 2 coming up, because we went to go and get some additional things and ended up buying a bunch of Christmas stuff.
Because Christmas is invading.
Season, and also like if we don't get it now, all the good stuff will be sold out.
Yeah.
But we've talked to like a few like cashiers doing our errands these last couple of weekends, and they're like, oh, getting your decoration on early, and they're like, I wish I had the patience for decorations. It's easy to put them up and hard to put them down, or hard to take them down. And we were just like, yeah, man, we get it. Because the thing is like we don't really take decorations down.
We take like the big stuff,
some of them down,
but like some of the stuff, I mean, like that's from Chinese New Year,
like 3 years
ago. And
we've got like a ceramic light up egg that we got around Easter time that's still out. Yeah. We have Halloween decorations from like several years ago.
Christmas decorations from several years ago. I mean, nothing like big, but like some of the little stuff, we like living in a maximalist sort of house.
We're definitely maximalists. Could you tell?
but also like because we sort of like do different themes for Christmas or whatever, when we were out shopping, we kind of ran into this opportunity where we're like, all right, well, we got all these sweet Halloween decorations and like we could put them up, but what am I going to take these down November 1st? Like not at all. So we've decided to do Halloween for Christmas.
Yeah. So we're just going to literally leave those decorations up.
We're having a haunted
and
Christmas.
Add Christmas to them. So we're pretty stoked for that.
Yeah, we're pretty jazzed
stay
about that.
tuned for
more holiday
more
festivities.
Chitty chats about that.
Yeah.
And some videos on our socials.
Yeah. Totally. But yeah, with that is Mabon 103, living with the seasons.
Yeah.
Which is real fun. It's sort of a different look. It's Mabon, you said, was about like
balance and gratitude
and giving thanks and such like that. And I think that's a fantastic way to do that, is to celebrate the season. right? And give thanks for the things that you have in the season with regard to that. All of the stuff that we talked about, as well as all of the other podcast episodes that we talked about, all have Book of Shadows pages. We are so close to being caught up on Book of Shadows pages. I've gotten a ton of them done recently. They take way longer than you would expect. But so the Book of Shadows pages for each podcast episode are available on our Patreon. So we have a Patreon. It's Nerd Jive on Patreon. The links will be wherever links are. And you can go there and you can support us like our patrons who would love to give a shout out to right now. So thank you, Alan, Miranda, Somewhere, Helena, Alexa, Panda, and Brianna. You guys are awesome. And you keep us doing more each time.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. And if you're interested in supporting us or helping us out, you can check out our Patreon. You can also just subscribe to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast network, subscribe to the podcast or whatever that is. Follow it. And
tell
leave
your
us
friends.
leave us a review on the podcast network, because that helps whatever algorithms are running in the background to do that. Because I don't know how podcasts work, even though I make one. And not at all. And if you are on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, comment below. What do you do for seasonal celebration? And what did you do for Mabon this year? You saw what we did, which was go Halloween shopping, and it was awesome. You should do the same thing. Get more Halloween decorations in your life. There are some fucking rad ones out there this year.
Yeah.
Very cool Halloween season this year. And like this video and hit the bell or whatever YouTube's asking us to do these days. Do whatever the stuff is that YouTube wants you to do to keep up with us and see more podcasts, which, again, like I said, come out once a week. But either way, I have been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. And this has been the Horn
and Cauldron podcast.
And we will catch you guys next time. Stay witchy, folks.
Yeah. And don't forget, breathe in self-confidence and breathe out self-doubt.